We are going live.
Okay.
So, hello guys, good evening. Thanks for joining. And my name is Harsh Akshit, and many of you as know that I'm the co-organizer of Google Developers Group Ranchi. So let me check whether we are live or not. Yeah. Hello guys, good evening. Thanks for joining. Yeah, we are live. So, as you know, my name is Harsh Akshit. I'm the co-organizer of Google Developers Group Ranchi. So let me give a brief introduction of Google Developers Group Ranchi. So yeah. So GDG Ranchi is a group of developers that foster learning of Google developers technologies. We are a local community run meetup for developers interested in resources and technology for Google developers. The membership is absolutely free and open to all the tech enthusiasts and run by passionate individuals in the developer community. So today we have a very fantastic speaker and a very good friend of mine. Her name is Ritika Sharma, and today she'll be speaking on user interface and user experiences. That is, in short, UI and UX. So let me give a brief introduction of her. So she's a fabulous front-end developer as well as a UI UX designer. So right now, she's interning with STEMaway, which is an organization based in United States. So she's working over there as UX research and design intern. So that was me, and over to you, Ritika.
Okay, so hi everyone, this is Ritika, and I'll be taking you through the journey of UI UX. But thanks, Harsh, for giving such a wonderful introduction of mine. So, first of all, I'll just introduce myself. I started off as a front end developer initially, and I later on got to know that I was quite intrigued by designs, and I worked on Illustrator also. So I and also after attending a few of talks and even I attended a dev fest there, so I felt like that I might go into something that is more of a creative field. So I went into UI UX, and it's been like about 6 to 8 months that I've been into this field, and luckily I got this internship in which I'm getting quite a diverse exposure. So yeah, and I'm here for the talk. So let's get into it. I'll be sharing my screen. Okay. Okay. Is it visible, Harsh? Like, is it visible to everyone?
Uh, yeah, you can go on.
Okay. So UI UX 101 is the basic talk for the meeting today. And this is all about me that Hirsch told all of you about. I'm a front-end developer, UI UX designer, and also I'm president and lead and at MSIT. I started out with there at my college, basically a foundation to like encourage girls in tech and a research intern at STEM Away. So the agenda for today's talks, basically UI UX 101 is focusing more about scratching the surface and for the beginners so that they could know about what actually UI and UX is. So first we'll be starting off with what is UX, then clearing up with the screen, UI with the air, UI UX journey, empathy map, define, ideate, prototyping, and testing. So, what is UX? So, what is actually UX? UX stands for user experience. I guess most of you present over here in the live, they all know about what UX actually is. But UX implies for designing any product or service at the end of which your user is placed. So I can give a short example for this. For example, if I'm designing a pencil, right? And if I'm designing that pencil, Harsh, I'm going to use you as a prop over here. So can you help me out with that?
Yeah, sure, Ritika.
Okay, so if I'm designing a pencil, so who do you think will be buying this pencil if I'm designing it somewhere? So if I'm designing this product, who do you think would be buying it, like buying the pencil?
Yeah, it might be a school kid or some sketch artist. So yeah, that will be the customer, I guess, for
Okay,
your product.
wonderful, Harsh. Thanks. Okay, so it will be used by a student or by a sketcher. So would the requirements of both these user are these gonna be the same? No, they're not going to be same. If I'm talking about the student, he'll just do with the simple pencil. But for a sketcher, there'll be more intricate detail or specificity which will be required. So in such a case, what I'm keeping the user in mind and specific user. When I'm talking about specific user to which my product will be delivered, that is known as the target audience. So it is the very first technical term that I'm introducing to all of you over here. That is the target audience. Those number of people or those user to whom you're delivering your product, your substantial product, that is set to be as your target audience. So UX is nothing but designing your product, keeping user at the center of it, and that's why it's also referred to as the UCD, or user central design. Okay, so it's all about just keeping the user at the heart of it. Now, clearing the air. So, since all of you know that the talk for today is UI and UX, so there's a slash in between both of them. So, why there is a slash, or why there is a division between two of them? So, UX is more about researching, it's more about knowing your user, it's more about knowing your target audience, and kind of putting yourself in their shoes. So, on the other hand, UI is more about designing. It's more about putting that final product in front of your user. You're not so much responsible enough that okay, I'll be designing it just for a specific amount of people. It's just designing, it's just using the creativity of imagination. But what goes behind that designing, it's the UX, it's the user experience that you have, it's the journey that your user will cover throughout your whole platform or product. That is UX. So I hope I have made myself clear over this. Now, what is design thinking process? Now, before you start up with UI and UX as whole, there is a whole process, there is a whole world in it. So, if you can see the GIF over here, you'll see that there's empathize, there's define, there's ideate, there's prototype, and there's test. So, when I'm talking about empathize, what I mean by empathize, so it's just the normal diction word that we use. So empathize is when you feel for other person, when you have the similar feeling or you can relate to that person and you are able to put yourself in their shoes. So empathize is more about when you can connect to your user, when you can understand their pain, their pang throughout that journey. That is more about empathize. So I'll be covering each of these topic in great detail. So let me just clear your points over here only. Empathize, define, and ideate stage comes under UX. This whole three circles come under UX, while prototype and the test part comes under the UI section of it. So just moving on to the next slide. Empathize. So now empathy or empathize is where you will be asking questions about your platform to the target audience or to the user. You'll be asking them questions like maybe is this platform okay for you, or were you able to log into the profile easily? What are the problems that you are facing on the platform? Is this design suitable for you? Are you able to access the platform easily? So these are the questions that you repetitively ask your users about. And you first you're keeping your user at the center of it. They'll respond to your question accordingly, then you'll think of probable solution to it. So again, taking that pencil example, Harsh, do I have you over here again, please? I'm sorry, I'm disturbing you again.
No, not a problem.
Okay, so for example, I'll ask you after delivering that product to you, like maybe you're just a sketch artist, okay? So making it more technical. So if I'll just ask you whether you'll be able to replace that pencil with the charcoal. Yeah, there's a lot of painters out there who draw it with charcoal. So are you able to use that pencil in comparison to that charcoal? So you may be giving me replies like, yeah, you can give me a reply for that. Probable
Yeah.
reply, just an imagination.
No, the pencil would be easier to use, so I would prefer the pencil.
Exactly. So that was a thank you, Harsh, again. So that was a positive feedback that I got from Harsh, that the pencil was easy, it was handy to use. So in this way, I can keep that feature alongside with me. So in UX, you design a lot of maps over there, like heck lot of maps. Like there's empathy map, there's stakeholder map, there's a lot of maps that you make. The bullseye diagram, the persona map. So I'll be covering each of them steadily. Just don't get horrified with that. So since Harsh said me that it was easy to use, I think that I'll be now keeping that feature. Why I'll be keeping that feature? Because again, if I'll interview a large number of people, both belonging to tech and non-tech, they'll have their different views. And according to the views, I'll be putting them in the map, and I'll see what features are to be kept in mind while I'm designing them, and on the other hand, what features are not that important, or what features are the trigger points or the painful points in the journey. So that was all for the empathy map. Now the define stage. Now for the define stage, since you have conducted about interviews, so initially in the empathy map, you will be doing nothing, but you will be interviewing your users about it, about your platform. And then on the defining part of it, for example, if I've interviewed for about 8 to 10 people, right, about my platform, about that pencil that I've given you all the example of, so now I'll be taking that product and I'll be going to my target audience, right? I'll be taking that product and I'll be going to my target audience, and I'll be asking them potential question that strikes in my mind. By what? By UX, by the help of UX. That is keeping user at the center of it. So after those 8 to 10 interviews, I'll just summarize all the solutions of it, all the problems of it, in just 1 to 2 character a character that is an imagination of mine. So Jim Scott was nothing but an imagination of mine. The summary, the whole crux of all the interviews that I took was just combined. The juice of all of it was combined in just one sketch of this person, which was whole use out of my imagination, and this is known as persona. This right in front of your screen is nothing but known as persona. So generally designers say that you can make a lot of personas out of it, but there's one thumb rule in design, that if you keep lesser number of options, there will be lesser of confusion, and you will have, at the design stage, you will have more clearer picture of what your design of features are going to look like. So just keep 2 personas, mainly the tech one and the non-tech one, basically the target audience of yours. So that is one thing to remember. So this is a persona that I made for my internship. So the goals and objectives of it, the biggest challenges. So all these challenges and the possible solutions were nothing but the common points that I got from all the people, because we are not going to take just the pain or suffering of just one person that I interviewed. For me, everybody is equal, whether he or she is belonging to tech or non-tech. What is main important thing for me as a UX designer is to keep one thing in mind, that user is using my platform. So this is the design page where you will be making the personas. Okay, now ideate. So this is a very important stage for a UX or a UI designer. Why I'm using these terms differently? Because as I have cleared the air for all of you guys, these are 2 different fields. One is for more about researching, getting connected to the people. Just think in those terms, like you are the middleman between the product and between the user. So in the ideation stage, what you'll do is you'll go to your team. So since I hope like most of you have done internship, or if you have not done the internship, so you'll see there's a team of people. There are front-end developers, there are back-end developers, there's a product manager, then there's your CEO. So what you'll do, you act as a media over here, right? Since media is a mode of communication between the government and you, right? So here also you will act as a kind of saver over here. You will put your feature, you will put all those points from what stage? From the define stage. You have made those personas. Now you'll put forward the possible solutions, the possible challenges that user, that is your target audience, is facing all those problems. You'll put forward that in a platter and you'll present it in front of your users, and then you'll just ask them that, okay, these are the points that I face, these are the challenges that I face, that the people have faced. So we can come up with these features. So this is the ideation phase, more about communicating with your whole team and coming up with one solution that is with which you will be moving forward for the design phase. Okay, so prototype. prototyping. So I guess most of you over here were quite interested about knowing so how we can draw or design all these wireframes, or maybe the high fidelity mockups, the visual mockups, or maybe you have seen the Behance profile of a lot of people over there, or Dribble accounts. So that is nothing but prototyping. So before jumping onto it, I'll just like to clear the definition over here, that why is prototyping necessary. We do a lot of things, but we don't understand the essential or the importance of the things. So prototyping is necessary because of two reasons. First being in the startups. Okay, see, startups today have provided a lot of opportunities to people. So, but we know one hardcore reality of these startups, that is they don't have that much capital. They don't have that much money to invest in your design, in the product. So what should they do? So for a designer, prototyping is very necessary, even for that startup, because we don't want our product to get messed up at the end, and when we are designing the whole, or when we are investing the capital, at the end we want to make all the modification that we could make in the initial stages of it, and later on we just have the whole core product ready in front of us, rather than making the changes to the finalized product, right? So in that way prototyping is necessary. And in the second manner, it's a clear process, right? And if you are prototyping your project or your product, so in that way it becomes easy. It's just one by one you're moving to your final product, though it takes a lot of time, I may say, if you're putting the whole energy into it, but of course it's very fruitful. So the low fidelity and the high fidelity. Now, prototyping is of two types briefly. The low fidelity one, which is just a pen paper model of it, or maybe you'll be creating such kind of sticky notes and basic features from all your interviews, or the features to keep. While the high fidelity is the end product. After all your research, after all your low fidelity prototyping, you release a final look of your product or design. That is the high fidelity one. Okay, so here are some low fidelity models that I have made. That is, you can see it is just a rough sketch of it. I'll just make boxes over here, some text, scribbled art, and that is all the features that you want in your product to be in there. You're not sure of all the colors that you're going to use, the visual representation that you're going to have. What you're sure of is that you'll be using the boxes to represent it, just a low fidelity one. That is why it is said to be the low fidelity diagram. So I can quickly show you a demo over here. Like, this is Figma, and I'm using it for STEM-based side also. So as you can see, I've made, like, for the platform, I've made certain low fidelity prototypes over here, like certain features to keep. I've just used boxes. I don't know what all will be there, but I've used just the features. And to keep you all updated about it, what's the difference between a good design and a great design is that you make about 20% of just changes, just the 20%, just the little bit of changes. Those changes are even not noticeable, but they make a huge lot of impact on your product. So that is what is the difference that lies between a good and a great product. So I can just show you a quick demo about it. So I'll just create a rectangular box over here, or you can also import frames over here, frames of different kind. So I've made this. I can also show you the frame. Okay, so see, we have different options over here. MacBook Pro, I can use that. It's just have imported onto my file. So I'll just delete this one. And yeah, I can just keep boxes over here. Like, this could be a representation of maybe a picture that could be present over here at my website, or I can use it gets expanded when you use here. This can be the short nav bar, and maybe like if I want to represent a footer over here and the logo of it. So this is just the low fidelity one, which is just the representation in the form of boxes, the features that you want to incorporate in your design. So this is nothing but what I call, or what everybody calls in the design field, that is the low fidelity model. Okay, skipping all that part and going back to our slides. Okay, now moving on to the high fidelity one. So do you see a lot of change over here? Like, I just made the wireframes, and later on, I jumped onto the whole model. So here you can see I've used more of a visual representation, I've used colors. And one thing to keep in mind is the typography, the contrast that you use, the colors that you use. Always keep your design minimalistic. Don't use too much of color patterns over here. Just keep 4 to 5 basic colors. Like over here, I've made it red, brown, orange. That are the basic colors that I've put over here. So what is the difference between the UI of your desktop over here and mobile? So in mobile version of it, you can use those features which are very important, and those very important features over here are known as call for action. So why do you need a call for action, or what is basically the call for action? That action onto your whole system or in your design that you need, so that it leads to the productivity of your organization, that is known as call for action. Or the main reason why I'm putting over here in the restaurant app. Okay, Harsh, I can use you as a prop again. So
Yeah,
hello, are you
yeah, yeah,
there? Okay.
yeah. I'm here.
Okay, so if you go, if I'm having my startup offline, like a restaurant maybe, so why would you go to a restaurant? Like you just saw the banner over there, so why would you go in a restaurant?
Uh, yeah, definitely. I want to test the cuisines, or I'm really hungry. So that's would be the main reason I would be visiting a restaurant.
Exactly. Exactly. You would go there because of the hunger strike that you might be having, or you're craving something. So you will pick up the menu first. Again, so that is the call for action that you will be having for that organization or for my startup. So keeping this thing in mind, what is the main action or what is the main goal that you want your user to achieve is known as call for action, and that is kept in the, what do you call, as just the center of the attraction for the user. So what we want the user to do is to see our menu or either browse on their own. So these are the two main features of the call for actions from our organization. Okay, now you will be asking that, okay, Ritika, you have shown us Figma that is used for designing the prototype. So here on my screen, I have made like the list of all the tools available out there. You can just search them, which is suitable or compatible for Mac or for Windows. So there's the list of all the wireframing tools. Wireframing tools are nothing. The box is a representation, the low fidelity diagrams that I've shown you all. That is wireframing. Design prototyping tools are again the one with which you can make the end product that will be visible to the user. So that is for the tools that you can use. Now, the most important phase, I believe, is the testing phase. So this is the low fidelity one, and the high fidelity comes under UI. Now, coming on to this testing phase, now for a UX designer or for a UI designer, this phase is common to both of them. That is the testing phase, in which, well, you have solved all those problems, you have kept the features that you are needed to keep. Now you will be moving to the testing phase again, where again there will be a whole cycle where you'll be testing your prototype, asking the questions again and again, making some modification to your product or to your design. So real life or task based testing here, like I asked Harsh in the starting of the talk about the pencil, again I can use him as a prop and ask him, okay Harsh, in this high fidelity mock-up, are you able to can you go to the profile?
Yeah, I can easily see the three options at the bottom. Sorry, at the top right, the home menu and the profile.
Okay, great. So, since he was able to say yes to my answer, to my question, so in that way, it is a task-based testing. Since we are present virtually over here, but is generally done with your user in front of you, where you will be asking him the questions about the prototype that you have made, and possibly you won't help them out. You will just see how they're responding to their prototype. Are they going quite baffled about it? Are they okay with it? Are they getting frustrated? You will just record the whole process of it, and again it comes under the UX part. Okay, gorilla testing. We are not gorillas over here, neither are we going to the forest. It's just the name of it. So yeah, guerrilla testing is more about going out in wild. Now, going out in wild means over here is not keeping your target audience as your main focus, rather going out to the people who are not using that platform maybe, or those who are not your target audience. So keeping the circles out of them and asking people about your prototype, whether they are able to use it or not, whether it was handy for them or not, that is guerrilla testing. Okay, diary testing. So over here we have diary testing. So since it's COVID, which has hit us all hard, and we are in the lockdown and we're just locked up over here. So diary testing is the best of all the testing, where we can just give them the prototype maybe, and we'll let them test their on their own, and they can use it in their daily life, and at the end of it they can give us the feedback. So that is the diary testing. Now, the most used testing is the A B testing, in which you'll be having the two versions of your design, version A and version B. Version A having certain features in the prototype, and version B having some other features that you may want to inculcate in your design. For example, in version A, I might have more options on my nav bar, while on the B section, I may have lesser number of options in the nav bar, but more kind of options in the footer. So I give a design to certain group of target audience, and B design to different users, both of them being the target audience. So now at the end of it, I'll check the results, that which performed how much well, and accordingly I'll go for that version of my prototype. So since you have, like, I've walked you all through the process of UI UX designer, so what is basically the role of a UX designer? So a UX designer is responsible for designing any app or system, keeping again the user in the mind. Now, he is not just kind of an owner for the user, but instead he's that pathway through which the other designers, the front end developer, maybe the product manager, will know about the target audience or what are their basic needs. He'll be communicating through the users and their pain, their journey, understanding them, maybe researching, designing along with the team all together. And that is briefly the role of a UX designer. And that's all. If you have any doubts regarding the talk, if you have any query, if you can reach out to me, then these are my handles: LinkedIn, GitHub, and my personal portfolio over here. So thank you, people, for being over here. Over to you, Harsh.
Yeah, thanks, Ritika. That was really insightful, and I hope our audience got it quite nicely. And we have a couple of members of the Google Developers Group, Ranchi. So I will be taking them in, and they have a question. Okay. So first, I will be taking Mehul. Yeah. Hi, Mehul. Can you hear me?
Hello, good evening. Yeah. Hello. Am I audible?
Yeah. Hi. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you are audible. Hi,
Yeah.
hi, Mehul.
Hi, Ritika ma'am. Hi, Harsh
Yeah.
Bhaiya.
Oh, I'm not.
Actually, my question was like how to keep up with the design trends. Like every day we see like new trends coming in. Like we are practicing one thing, then another thing pops up. So like how to keep up with the changing trends.
Okay, so for that, I would suggest you to go for Instagram. Like most of you use Instagram, right? So you can follow pages over there,
Yeah.
UX Kaiga, UX Goodies, and also on the same hand, you can subscribe to a lot of channel on YouTube that are present. The Future, the Vox channel, UX Mastery.
Okay.
You can also connect with a lot of people that are present over here on LinkedIn. Keep yourself accounted with a lot of people that are there in the field that you are interested in. That is what I have done throughout like my journey, being a UX
Okay.
or a UI designer. So for keeping up with the trends, just subscribe to the channels that I've told you about: UX Mastery, The
Okay.
Future, Vox, and yeah, you can
Actually, I
also
recently
get.
started with UI designing
Okay, that's great.
on XT.
So, okay, that's great. So you can try also one thing. You can try a lot of tools out there. Like there's Figma. Also, just know about the tools that are present over there, but
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah.
a whole just on one tools. And for
Sure.
your question, for your question, just get added also onto the Slack channels for the UI UX designer team. Like you can get added to the UX mastery team, the front end mentors also, so that you can just keep up with the trends.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so that was Mehul. So we will be taking another question. So I'll be adding Shruti. Yeah, hi Shruti. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, I
Yeah.
can hear
Hi
you. Can you hear
Shruti.
me? Hello, hello, ma'am. Ma'am, that was a very informative session.
Oh, thank you.
So my question to you is, there are many institutes and colleges who offer a full-fledged course on UI UX. One of them is UCEAT,
Yeah, yeah.
and those students already have an edge over us who belong from a different stream. So how can we bridge this gap?
Okay. I myself have not done any kind of course like UCD, but I'll just let you know one thing. See, what you can do on your end is practice a lot, make projects on your own. See, there's a lot of difference, of course, but if you'll go through the courses that are present in Udemy, if you don't want to pay for them, get a torrent link of it, and also just practice a lot. Okay, it's upon to you. If you have that creativity, that imagination altogether, you can do great. I know a lot of designer out there. I myself have not done kind of different course, or like I'm not that kind of an expert in designing, but yeah, I do have that creative bend, that imaginative bend with my mind. I do know how to create. When you know how to create, when you know how to have that imaginative process, that designing thinking in you, I don't think there's any kind of stoppage between you and what you want to achieve. And of course, there's an edge of all those people who have learned through that courses. But if you just go through process by process, get a good internship out of it, then for sure you can do wonders.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, Harsh, you're not audible because you're muted.
Sorry. So I think Shruti got her answer. So yeah, thanks Shruti for joining us.
Thank you.
So we have also few questions in the chat. So let me take up few questions. So there is a question from Abhishek. So how is UI UX as a career option, average pay and the quality of job?
Okay, so there's also one question like he's asking, what's the difference between UI and UX,
Yeah.
right, Abhishek? Okay, so Abhishek, the basic difference that we have over here between UI and UX, as I also cleared the air in the presentation specifically. So UX is more about researching, is more about knowing your user, keeping the user at the end of it, and keeping user at the center of it. Basically, when you're making any kind of design, when I gave the example of the pencil, this is a pen, though it look like a pencil. So when I gave this example, I told very explicitly that you might have different user using your product, but what you have to keep in mind is how your user is going to respond to that product, or how's your user's journey throughout that process. So you have to understand that journey, understand the pain points, and you have to give a solution to that. So, and UI on the other hand is more about designing, more about creation, more about putting all those pain points and giving the solution in a form of a very creative manner, which is your design, which is again UI. So I hope I have made myself clear about that. Now, how is UI UX as a career option? So since I am doing it, I'm enjoying it really. Like I'm really intrigued by this field. So it's great as a career option. A lot of startup, they take UI UX designer. Why do they take a UI UX designer? Because again, you want someone to understand your target audience, because at the end of it there will be a lot of cross cutting, because those startups don't have that much of capital to invest in the start. So what you can do is, initially you can have that product to be refined in such a great manner that it will be delivered to that users, and they'll be potentially attracted to that startup or to your organization. So in that way it's great as a career option, because a lot of startups and even great companies like Kodak or Google have a great UX designer being paid at a very great scale. So, and yeah, quality of job is also amazing, as long as you love your passion, as long as you love to put yourself in that arena of designing, thinking, and coming out of solution. It's a great field for anybody who wants to aspire to become a UI UX designer.
So thanks, Abhishek. I hope you got your answer. So we will be taking a last question. So it is a question from Avesh Kumar Sinha. So he is asking which software is being used during your demonstration.
Okay, during the demonstration of my slides or like for the live?
Yeah, during the slides you were showing like
Okay,
some. Yeah.
I used Figma. I used Figma for wireframing, but you can use Balsamic too. You can use for wireframing. There's different tools which are available. Balsamic explicitly just for wireframes. Figma. You can also do it in XD. So yeah, I used Figma.
Okay. So I hope Avesh you got your answer. So let's wrap up, and that's all for today, guys. Thanks for joining, and yeah. So
Okay.
bye bye, everyone, and bye, Ritika.
Okay. Bye. Bye.